Running several AI coding agents at once is supposed to make you more productive, so I wanted to see if it actually does. I started 3 different tasks: a test investigation, a couple of UI fixes, and a larger feature. The idea was simple. While one agent was working, the others could keep moving in the background, but almost immediately several different things started demanding my attention. One task finished and needed review, another needed a decision, and when I switched to the third, I had to remember what it was doing in the first place. The agents could work in parallel. I still had to understand everything one task at a time. And that's where the setup started to feel slower than I expected. To organize the experiment, I used Workmux. It creates a separate Git worktree and tmux window for every task, so the agents can work without modifying the same checkout. I'll show you how the experiment went, where the workflow became difficult, and when I think running several agents is actually useful. Before I start the agents, let me quickly show you what I gave them. First, I have 2 small UI problems. After updating the UI library, the stubs started stretching across the full width instead of fitting their content. And in the language settings, this card repeats the currently selected language, even though the same information is already visible in the selector below it. I'm going to ask one agent to fix the tabs and replace this text with a short general description of the language setting. The second task is a larger feature. Users can already sign in with a social account, but after creating an account, there is no way to connect another provider from the account settings. I want another agent to add social account linking here. And finally, I have this timeout warning whenever I run the tests. The tests pass, but the warning looks serious. It might be harmless, but I don't want to simply ignore it. I'm going to ask an agent to investigate where it comes from, whether it can cause a real problem, and suggest a proper fix. So I have one investigation, one small UI cleanup, and one larger feature. They look separate enough to run at the same time. I'll launch the test investigation first, then the UI fixes, and finally the social account feature. Workmux supports different coding agents, so I don't have to use the same setup for every task. For the task investigation and the UI fixes, I'm using P with ChatGPT 5.6 Luna. For the larger social account feature, I'm using Cloud Code with Opus 5. For every task, Workmux creates a separate branch, worktree, and tmux window. I can switch between them, check which agent is working or waiting, and review the changes directly in NeoVim. Honestly, this part is very convenient. Creating and managing all these worktrees manually would be much more annoying, but the setup grows very quickly. One task becomes another window, then another worktree, another prompt, another agent, and another piece of context I need to remember. Nothing has gone wrong yet, but I'm already managing quite a lot before I've reviewed a single line of generated code. There is no quiet waiting period. Almost immediately, the first agent finishes. So instead of getting a quiet period where everything runs in the background, I already need to stop and review its result while the other 2 agents are still working. Then another agent might ask a question, and when I switch back, I need to remember what the task was doing, what it has already changed, and why it needs my input. Switching tmux windows takes 1 second. Switching mental context takes much longer. That is the first reason using several agents can make you slower. You remove some waiting time, but replace it with interruptions. There is an obvious way to reduce those interruptions. I can tell the agents to make more decisions without asking me. But then I have a different problem. Instead of answering questions during the task, I need to review more assumptions after it finishes. The agent may choose the wrong approach, misunderstand a requirement, or make a change that technically works but does not fit the rest of the project. So the work does not disappear. It moves from supervision to review. And when several agents finish around the same time, I suddenly have several branches waiting for my attention. The agents can produce results in parallel. I still have to understand those results one at a time. Separate work trees also do not mean the changes are completely independent. Two tasks can make sense separately and still touch the same shared files. A feature and a UI fix may both change the same component. Two agents may both update shared types, configuration, tests, or the package log file. Workmux prevents them from editing the same working directory while they are working, but the conflict can simply appear later when I try to merge the branches. So even if the tasks are independent in my task list, they may not be independent in Git. And now I need to understand both implementations well enough to resolve the conflict correctly. That is another place where the time saved by parallel execution can disappear. Workmux can also run agents inside a virtual machine. I'm using the Lima backend here, so the agents are not running directly on my host. That gives me some additional separation, but running agents inside virtual machines is a much bigger topic. There are questions about setup, performance, file system, and how much isolation the workflow really provides. I don't want to go deeply into that here, I'll cover it in a separate video, so subscribe if that sounds interesting. None of this means that Workmux is a bad tool. Actually, I think it's very convenient. It organizes work trees, branches, agents, and terminal sessions much better than I would manage them manually. It also pushed me to finally start using tmux and NeoVim properly. And once you build a setup that works for you, switching between tasks, reviewing changes, and keeping everything inside the terminal feels great. So my problem isn't really with Workmux itself. The tool solves the mechanical problem of using several agents. The harder problem is deciding how many tasks I actually want to manage at the same time. I think this workflow is most useful for side tasks that can genuinely run without much input from me. For example, researching different approaches, investigate a warning, looking for missing tests, reviewing performance problems, suggesting optimizations without immediately changing production code, or testing an idea in a separate worktree without touching my current changes. These tasks are easier to run in parallel because the output is usually a report, a suggestion, or a small isolated change. For important implementation work, I would still prefer one or two agents that I can properly understand and review. Using 10 agents at the same time may look productive, but it also means 10 streams of decisions, questions, changes, and results competing for the same person. So can using several AI coding agents make you more productive? Yes, but only when the tasks are truly independent and require very little attention from you. Otherwise, the agents are only one part of the workflow. You still need to prepare the tasks, you still need to answer questions, you still need to switch context, you still need to review the code, and you still need to integrate the results. More agents can reduce waiting, but they can also replace waiting with management. And honestly, I don't mind waiting that much. Sometimes I would rather watch an episode of something, make coffee, or simply step away while one agent works. For me, that is often less exhausting than constantly switching between several unfinished tasks. Workmux can be a great tool when you build a comfortable workflow around it, but just because it lets you use 10 agents at once doesn't mean you should. For me, that sounds less like productivity and more like a direct way to lose my mind. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you found it useful, please leave a like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye.